I'm Anita Sweeten, and I grew up, born and raised in Western Oregon, mostly country towns, didn't ever live in a city. We were hippies living in Southern Oregon, and my old man said, we're going to a gathering of the tribes up in Eugene. And I said, okay, and so we came, and it was 1971, and we did craft things, and so at that time you could have a food in the crafts booth. So we had our pipes and chillums and roach clips and antler stuff. That was mainly what we were doing. He did knife handles out of antler and silver guards with that. And then we decided every year, the first few years, we would do some kind of food, but the main purpose was so that all our friends, people from Ashland and Sunny Valley and Sakilma and, the folks that we knew could eat at the fair. Because otherwise, we were poor hippies, but we could always get enough together to get the food, and then we'd sell enough that to general, people we didn't know, that we could always feed all the people we knew. And it worked out pretty well. That first year, I think we did bomb burritos. We didn't know they were bomb burritos. We just knew we were going to do some bomb burritos. We went into town and got some really good corn tortillas from a Mexican restaurant they were authentic, really yummy ones. And then we cooked beans over a fire pit, because that's how you cooked out here then. And the beans got a little burned on the bottom, and so we spiced them all up and called them bomb burritos, because the beans had this nice flavor. They were very nutritious, but they were a little burned on the bottom. Anyway, we had all the accoutrements and made good stuff, and everybody got fed, and we didn't make money, but that wasn't what we came to the fair for. But I fell in love. Our booth was up by main stage, back in kind of where Soy World and that area is, only it's all morphed back in. The path was much smaller, and where we camped back in the woods was all path now. So, but it was such a lovely spot, and so much wonderful music, and the physical setting and the gathering of energies. Just, I couldn't imagine ever not coming again. And in those times, we had a few fairs that were fall fairs, and sometimes felt like winter, but every time there was a fair, I would come, because I just wanted to be there. And we changed the things that we brought for food depending on where we were and what was available, and because people were always hungry and they'd eat. We started going to the creamery and getting yogurt, and one year we made yogurt sundaes, cut up a lot of fruit and put honey on it, and just good healthy food that we wanted to eat and that we wanted to be able to feed our friends, and then other people could get it from us and they would pay for more food. So I've been in food at the fair for a long time. Then, let's see, what did we do after that? We were down there for 2 or 3 years, and then my partners and I split up. I still have his last name, but we went our separate ways, and I came the next year with my child, who we just took care of other mothers with little children. We had a little space that was, I call it Mamacita, and because it's really nice to have a kid-friendly place when you're a young mother, and then you can, if your babies are asleep, one mother can stay with a few of them and the other ones can get out, because it was tricky changing from a young nulliparous woman and to someone who had the obligation of enjoying the fair and surviving at the fair with a little one. But I managed to figure out how to do it. And I ended up getting involved with Phoenix Rising because they were kind of in a transition in their booth. Paxton and some of the people had gone on to other things, and they weren't actually getting a product out and selling it. They were mostly they were known as a party booth, and they were in danger of getting kicked out, and they knew that I had some food skills. And so in 1982, 2002, I started with Phoenix Rising, and I quickly realized they were using an apartment-sized range and, the little cookie sheets, and even then there weren't so many people, but that was ridiculous. So that's why they wanted me, because I knew a little bit about equipment and what to do. And so we quickly got wolf ranges and the big cookie pans and racks, and did it. So instead of putting out 400 cookies a day, we could keep up with all they could eat. So that was really fun. But we always had a good breakfast, because I had kids, and I knew that if I didn't feed myself I wouldn't be any good, and I wanted to stay up late, and so we would eat breakfast, and I'd bring eggs and whatever, and we'd make breakfast back there, and we always had coffee, and people would come and they'd say, oh, we're so hungry, and we're so we can't get any coffee, and so we give them some. But we decided, well, okay, there's a real need here. So I checked with the food committee, and can we make breakfast and sell breakfast? And it was a kind of a radical idea. The people in the booth were going, well, we don't want to get up, and we don't want to have to do all that work. And I was like, you know what? I bet you this would really work out if we just did it. And so there were several people involved, and there was most of the guys that were not really sure, because they wanted to go play, and they didn't really want to have to be responsible. They just wanted to have a booth where they could, hang out and do their stuff. But we decided we were going to try it. And we could never even make enough breakfast. We could be open from 7 till the public came in, cooking breakfast and fasted. We rented grills from a Grange Hall that one of our members was new, and so we had big old grills, and we had some wolf ranges, and we did potatoes and pancakes and eggs, and just a great big breakfast. And at the first year we tried to do it. Okay, the person would come up, what do you want? Take their order. Well, that just was ridiculous. So we decided, well, why not do buffet stuff? And some of them were kind of like, yeah, they're going to eat everything and we're not going to make any money. I said, well, we don't really need to make a whole lot of money, and I don't think that they will. They'll take a plate. We're selling it by the plate, so price the plate and just don't worry about it. So we did that, and it worked really, really well, because at that time, now I think they've cut out some of the frivolities. It wasn't my idea, because we'd have yogurt and fruit, and pancakes and eggs and hash browns, and just a nice, so that if you got your plate, you could put on the right fuel for you. Was the idea. Anyway, they still do a very popular breakfast. They do have a huge crew and do a lot more, but I was really glad that we got breakfast going for the fair. It was a good thing. One year, somewhere in the early 80s, and I can't say exactly when, I could maybe figure it out, but it's in the records. It was the year Robert Despain shared the general manager job with another guy. I can't remember his name. He lives in Alaska now, I've heard. Anyway, they came over. We were done, and we hauled everything down in pickup loads, but it took about 5 pickup loads to get home, and so I'd stay and pack things up and get it ready, and the guys would come down with the pickup loads, and so we were on about our last pickup load, and it was Monday morning, and Shea Ray had been cooking for the fair, after fair, and he'd take his range from his booth and bring it over to main camp, and that's how they'd feed the volunteers after. Well, they got in some kind of tiff. I never did sort out all the details. Ray could probably tell you. Anyway, they came to me, Robert and the person came over, and they said, we need you to cook for us, and because our deal fell through. You're the only person here that has a stove, and we need a cook. And I said, well, I've got these 2 kids I got to deal with, and I'm supposed to be back at work tomorrow. I'm not quite sure how that would work out. And they said, well, we really, really need you, And so I thought about it, and I called work and said, I'm not going to be in till next week, and I got the older kids shuffled home with somebody else to go to her grandma's, and the younger one stayed with me, and we got lunch out. They came in probably about 10 in the morning, and they brought me a bunch of tempeh or tofu something, and we made it work so that they were fed. And then they said, okay, here, here are checks, make out the menus and go get the food, and because they knew me well enough to know that I would do that and could do that, and so I did, and I fed them, fed them well, and it worked out just fine. And I got to stay a little longer and enjoy a little more and know people a little better. And some of the people that I knew then, I still am fond. Buffalo is one of them. The recycling crew especially. That's what it was. I used to feed recycling crew before that, after the fair. Yeah, but we couldn't do a whole breakfast when they had to get up. They were getting up at 5:30. We were stay open till real late, and we just didn't have enough people, and so they had to end up getting their own thing there. But we did for a few years try to give them something, coffee and stuff. But man, that's a big kitchen like that at the fair. It's real hard to balance your energies and get the people there. I was so concerned. We needed to have somebody in the place all the time, because you have huge big propane tanks, you have sharp knives, you have and there's no way to really secure it. So we dealt with that by staying open all night and getting prep done for breakfast, cooking off 300 pounds of potatoes. Now they probably cook off 800, I don't know, but cooking off all the potatoes and letting them cool, and then getting them chopped up so that when the guys came in to start in the morning, all they had to do is, they're in buckets and you put them on the grill. It's a tremendous amount of work to do food at the fair, and I'm not sure that everybody really knows how much work goes into it, and a lot of skill. There are people out here who do food. I think everybody out here who does food, they do get juried. And that's another part of of what I did at the fair is I was on the food committee. They had an opening on the food committee, and I thought, well, I've been doing this a while, and I like it, and I think I'd like to do this work. And so I sent them a letter, and they said, yeah, you can do it. And now that's another one. I don't know how many years. I don't keep track of those things, but I'm sure Sue and Toby, the people who were on there when I came and when I left, know about when. And but it was lovely, because it's a wonderful group of people, and I felt like I was doing something really good for the food people at the fair, and just doing that work. And lots of meetings, and I lived about 90 miles away at the time. So, and it was springtime when most of our workload was for the meetings. So a lot of times it would rain, and I was working at the time. I was a rural mail carrier, and so I would get off work, get ready and come down for the meeting, get home about midnight, and it was a sweet time, because I always had loved Toby. That's how I got to know our elder camp, wonderful woman who does all of our registration and stuff, because she worked with Toby and has been with her for a long time. And right now I can't say her name because I'm an elder. And I've been up, I probably had maybe 8 hours of sleep in the last 4 days. But that's part of what I like. I think sleep deprivation is one of my drugs of choice, as is the Oregon Country Fair. I think that the fair is an incredibly useful tool for social engineering. We've already shown a lot of people about solar power and about all kinds of alternative energies and alternative therapies and alternative everything, and we've got to keep doing that and expand on it. One of the things that my friend that I'm camping with and I are working on is the idea of old hippie homes, that old hippies can gather together. This isn't under fair auspices, it's just our own thing, but it's a fair related, because we're all old hippies, the ones up here in Elder Camp, and that we can pool our resources and live well together, supporting one another, physically, financially. We can do a whole lot better if we cooperate, and we're probably a lot better able to manage that if we've gained a little wisdom since we tried to do it in the commune days. I think we have more of an idea how to make things work and how to live exactly the way we want. They can be urban things. They can be. We're thinking about a little community out on a piece of property out on the coast, about 4 miles up from the coast, and we're dreaming about our old hippie home. That's what we want. But you can envision it, and then you can maybe create it if you have the power of several people. And as you grow old, you kind of need a little help and a little. How wonderful to age with your friends around you. So that's one of my projects. One of the things that I think that the fair can do is just to continue our mission of educating people that you don't have to live a life that you don't enjoy, that you can figure out what you want to do and you can do it. And I think to me that's one of the fair's most important offerings to just the person who buys a ticket and is interested, that the sky's the limit. You can really create whatever you want with your life, and here are some examples of people who are doing that. You can walk on stilts and be way up in the air. You can be a doctor of whitebirds. You can if you can figure out something that you would really like to do and do it, probably you're going to be really happy. And I guess I feel like I'm really a lucky person, because I did figure out the things I like to do: food, feed people, and promote cooperation and harmony, and I've done them and I'm happy. And I think a lot of us out here are, because we've lived this, and it's been instrumental in teaching us how to cooperate and how to make things fun happen, and to be loving and spontaneous and forgiving. And that's the one thing that our mentor here in Elder Camp, Chris Brown, has taught us. Was, I think for me, he was very strong and very smart and very able to do almost anything. But the thing I most remember about him that he gave to me, the piece he gave to me, was that if someone messed up, he didn't hold a grudge. He wasn't mad at them. He forgave them. He helped them through it and helped them to figure out how to do it differently. And that's the other thing, is that we can teach one another and we can evolve together. I mean, look at how this works, how this village works, and how little trouble we have, really, when you think about it, with this many people living in peace and harmony for even a few days, the village, we're here probably mostly a week, and it's beautiful. And if we can spread that beauty, just like we did, we need to continue to, and we are, by being here, we need to continue to encourage people to live their dreams and to be well. This is something that happened early on in the fair, and that was instrumental in my becoming a good parent. It was right after my first husband and I had split up, and it was coming fair time, and I wasn't going to miss the fair, and I had this young child. She was born in September, so it was fair time, however many months that is. Anyway, she was a young, and she was just barely crawling and starting to toddle. We did the booth that we called, the little thing called Mamacitas, and for rest stop for mamas, with some fluids and a place to let your babies nap and things like that. Well, I was the first one there. My friends who were coming hadn't arrived yet, and I really had to use the facilities, and they happened to be located quite a ways away, and the baby was fast asleep, and she was bundled, and she was in the booth place, so she couldn't, I didn't think, get out. So I ran off to do that. I came back, and there was a circle of people around my baby. My baby she could just stand, and she was standing, and she was very happy. And the people were protecting her, because she had awakened and she had crawled out onto the path. And they were people who were older than I was, mostly, and they were aware that one should not leave a sleeping baby. At that time I was oblivious to it, and I just needed to pee, and I thought she'd be fine. And it was a lesson to me that, but it was done with kindness and loving family. Protect the child, help the young mother that doesn't know this learn it. And they said, if you don't want this child and you don't want to raise this child, there are people who would really love to have her. And I, of course I was horrified. I wanted to raise her, and I knew I wanted to raise her, and I would not have ever endangered her purposely. But I did, and it was just such a, that's what your family does for you. And it was a learning experience for me, and it was an example of the loving, guiding kindness and how we help each other. And I'm so grateful to be part of this family.
Takes a village.
Yeah.